a king Nimrod who called himself a god. A fire so big it could be seen for miles, and one young man, bound, lifted and hurled into the flames, but the fire did not burn him. A world in darkness, around 4,000 years ago, in the ancient land of Babylonia, what we know today as Iraq, humanity had drifted far away from the message of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. The people worshipped everything except their creator. They worshipped idols of stone and wood, carved by their own hands. They worshipped the stars and the moon and the sun. And worst of all, they worshipped their king. His name was Namrud, Nimrod, a man so drunk on power that he claimed he gave life and he gave death. He claimed to be a god. And then one night his astrologers came to him with a warning. A child would be born in his kingdom. A child who would shatter the idols. A child who would tear down the throne of Nimrod himself. Nimrod's response was swift and it was brutal. Every newborn boy in the kingdom was to be killed. The birth in hiding. But Allah's plan cannot be stopped by any king. A righteous woman, Ibrahim's mother, felt the time of her delivery come. According to traditional narrations recorded by Ibn Kathir and the classical historians, she slipped away from the city alone into the mountains. She found a cave, and there, hidden from the soldiers of Namrud, hidden from the eyes of an entire empire, a baby boy was born. His name, Ibrahim alayhi salam. The Quran tells us that from the very beginning, Allah had chosen this child. Indeed, we bestowed upon Ibrahim his guidance from before, and we were well acquainted with him. Surah Al-Anbiya 21:51. His mother visited him in secret. Tradition tells us he grew unnaturally fast, months feeling like years. And when he was finally old enough, his mother brought him home to a family he had never known. A family that worshipped and even manufactured the very idols he was destined to destroy. The boy who asked why. Ibrahim's father was named Azar. The Quran mentions him by name in Surah Al-An'am, Ayah 74. He was not just a man who worshipped idols. He was a man who made them. One day, little Ibrahim, only 7 years old, climbed up on the back of one of his father's biggest statues, treating it like a toy donkey. His father exploded with rage. "Stop! Do not disrespect the gods." But Ibrahim was a curious boy, and he asked the question that no one in his entire kingdom had the courage to ask. "Father, what is this statue? It has big ears, bigger than ours." His father replied, "That is Marduk, son, the god of gods. Those big ears mean he has deep knowledge." Ibrahim laughed. He laughed at the absurdity, because he was only 7. But already he understood, a god you can lift with 2 hands is no god at all. As recorded in Ibn Kathir's stories of the prophets, Ibrahim watched the people of Babylon every day. He saw them weep before lifeless stone. He saw them place food before idols that did not eat. He saw them ask for help from objects that could not even stand upright if pushed. He looked at them, and he asked himself, how? How can a sane person make a god with his own hands, and then worship what his own hands have made? The search for the true God. As Ibrahim alayhi salam grew, his heart grew restless. He could not accept the idols, but he had not yet seen the Creator. And so one night he set out alone to find the truth for himself. He walked into the mountains. He sat at the mouth of a cave, and he looked up. He saw a bright, beautiful star, and he said, "This is my Lord." But then the star set. It vanished from the sky. And Ibrahim said, "I do not love those that set." Then he saw the moon, bigger, more beautiful, more commanding. And he said, "This is my Lord." But then the moon too set. And he said, "Unless my Lord guides me, I will surely be among the lost." Finally, the sun rose, blazing, the greatest light he had ever seen. He said, "This is my Lord. This is the greatest." But then the sun also set, and Ibrahim alayhi salam understood, "O my people, indeed I am free from what you associate with Allah. I have turned my face toward him who created the heavens and the earth, inclining toward truth, and I am not of those who associate others with Allah. Surah Al-An'am, the stars set, the moon sets, the sun sets. But the one who created them, he does not set. He does not disappear. He does not change. That, said Ibrahim, that is my Lord, Allah alone. The scholars of Tafsir, including Ibn Kathir, explain that Ibrahim was not actually mistaken at any moment. He was teaching his people, leading them step by step through their own false logic, showing them that anything which disappears cannot be God. The axe in the temple. Ibrahim spent years calling his people to Allah. He pleaded with them. He reasoned with them. He even pleaded with his own father, gently, lovingly. "Oh, my father, why do you worship that which does not hear, does not see, and cannot benefit you in anything?" Surah Maryam, but his father grew enraged. "If you do not stop, Ibrahim, I will stone you. Get away from me!" And Ibrahim, with breathtaking patience, replied, "Peace be upon you. I will ask forgiveness for you from my Lord." But words alone were not breaking through. So Ibrahim decided to make a statement his people could never forget. The day of the great festival came. The entire city emptied out. Even the priests left the temple unguarded. And Ibrahim quietly, calmly walked toward the temple carrying an axe. He entered. He looked at the silent idols. He looked at the food laid out before them as offerings. He spoke to them, mocking them. "Will you not eat? Why do you not speak?" Surah As-Safat. And then he raised the axe. He smashed every idol in the temple, every one, except the biggest one, the greatest idol of them all. That one he left standing, and around its neck he hung the axe. Then he turned, and he walked out. The trial. When the people returned and saw what had happened, they were horrified. Their gods in pieces on the floor. "Who has done this?" Someone shouted. "We heard a young man named Ibrahim speaking against them." He was arrested, brought before the crowd, and asked, "Are you the one who did this to our gods, O Ibrahim?" And Ibrahim gave one of the most legendary answers in all of human history. He looked at the biggest idol, the one still standing with the axe around its neck, and he said, "No, that one did it, the biggest of them." Ask them if they can speak. Surah Al-Anbiya. The crowd was stunned. They turned to each other. For one brief, terrible moment, they saw the absurdity of what they had been doing their entire lives. They turned and admitted to themselves, "Indeed, we are the wrongdoers." Surah Al-Anbiya. But then pride struck back. They stiffened. They said, "Ibrahim, you know these idols cannot speak." And Ibrahim seized the moment. He thundered, "Then do you worship, besides Allah, things that can neither benefit you nor harm you? Have you no sense?" Surah Al-Anbiya. They had no answer. So they did what tyrants and the misguided always do when they cannot answer with reason. They answered with violence. "Burn him. Burn him and defend your gods." Surah Al-Anbiya. The greatest fire ever lit, for days, even weeks. According to traditional narrations, the entire city worked to build the biggest fire humanity had ever lit. The fire was so massive, the people had to invent a catapult because they could not get close enough to throw him in by hand. And in that final moment, tradition records that the angel Jibril alayhi salam descended and stood beside him and asked, "O Ibrahim, do you need anything?" And Ibrahim alayhi salam, with the most beautiful tawakkul, the most beautiful reliance on Allah ever recorded, replied, "From you, nothing. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is sufficient for me, and He is the best of guardians." The catapult released, and then Allah, the Lord of all that exists, gave a command that the fire itself heard and obeyed. "O fire, be coolness and safety upon Ibrahim." Surah Al-Anbiya. The flames did not touch him. The ropes that bound his hands and feet, those alone burned away. Ibrahim sat inside the fire as if he was sitting in a cool garden. For days the city watched. The fire kept burning, their faces blackened with smoke. Their eyes stung, and when at last the great fire died down, Ibrahim alayhi salam walked out, untouched, radiant, as if he had walked out of a garden. The miracle shook the kingdom to its foundations. Many believed in secret, but the tyrant Namrud, the man who called himself a god, was now face to face with the only man who had ever defeated his fire. The debate with Namrud, word of the miracle reached the palace. Namrud, the king who had ordered the deaths of all newborn boys, the king who had claimed God for himself, was now confronted with the one man who had just walked out of his greatest fire alive. He could not let this stand. He had to debate Ibrahim alayhi salam. He had to discredit him before his people. He summoned Ibrahim to the palace. The dialogue that followed is recorded in the Quran, and it is perhaps the shortest, most devastating philosophical demolition of false godhood ever uttered. Just 3 exchanges, 3 sentences from Ibrahim alayhi salam, and the entire claim of Namrud collapsed in front of his own court. Have you not considered the one who argued with Ibrahim about his Lord because Allah had given him kingship? Ibrahim alayhi salam said, "My Lord is the one who gives life and causes death." Namrud said, "I give life and cause death." Surah Al-Baqarah 2:2-5. Namrud was being clever. He turned to his court and demonstrated. He had 2 prisoners brought out. He killed one. He pardoned the other. "See, I gave life. I caused death," the courtiers nodded. The argument seemed clever, but Ibrahim alayhi salam did not waste a single breath arguing with this distortion. He simply gave the next test. Indeed, Allah causes the sun to rise from the east, so cause it you to rise from the west. Silence in the throne room. So the disbeliever was utterly defeated. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:258. Namrud could not respond. He could not move the sun. He could not even claim to be able to try. The lie of his godhood was exposed in front of every single person who served him. His throne, which had stood unchallenged for decades, had been shaken to its foundation by a young man and a single sentence, traditional. Narrations preserved by Tabari record that Namrud's end eventually came in a humbling way. A single tiny mosquito entered his nose and tormented his brain for years until he died. The greatest army on earth could not defeat one of the smallest creatures of Allah, Allahu Akbar. But these details are tradition, not Quran or Sahih Hadith. And so the first chapter of Prophet Ibrahim's extraordinary journey draws to a close. A young man who walked through fire, defeated a tyrant with a single sentence, and proved to all of humanity that no power on earth can stand against the will of Allah. From the cave where he was born in secret, to the throne room where he silenced a king who called himself a god, Ibrahim alayhi salam has shown us that one believer with true faith is mightier than an entire kingdom built on falsehood. But his journey is far from over. In part 2, we will witness his great migration out of Babylon, his trial in Egypt with the tyrant who could not touch his wife Sarah, the birth of his beloved son Ismail alayhi salam, and the heart-shattering command from Allah that would test the deepest love a father has ever known. If this story moved your heart and strengthened your faith, please support our journey by hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and turning on the notification bell so you never miss the next part of this beautiful series. Your support helps us bring more stories of the prophets to Muslims around the world, Insha'Allah.